A very good evening, everybody.
Hi everyone, you're watching Money Hour with Lakshmi. I'm your host Priya Agrawal, and joining in with me we have Chanchal Saxena from Team Lakshmi with us. And if you're tuning in for the first time, let me give you a brief about Lakshmi. Lakshmi is India's first financial platform exclusively for women, and we conduct these Money Hour sessions to help you take charge of your finances. So, in this episode of Money Hour, we are here to cover all the government backed retirement schemes, namely the National Pension Scheme, the Atal Pension Yojana, we have the Public Provident Fund and the Employees Provident Fund. So after the end of this video, you will know what exactly you have to do when it comes to planning your retirement, and you will be in a very great position to know exactly what to do, how to do, and everything you need to know about it. So let's get started with this session. And for those of you who have joined us live, do drop a hi in the comment section below so that we can interact and chat and have a lovely session with all of you right here. So I'm going to ask Chanchal all the questions. So firstly, we'll talk about the Atal Pension Yojana. So I'm going to ask her questions on all your behalf. So you can keep shooting your questions in the comment section below. We're going to take everything. So Chanchal, so for all the viewers, we want to know, like we have heard about APY. That's the common standard short form that we use for Atal Pension Yojana. So could you
Right.
explain us like what it exactly means?
Definitely, I would love to. In fact, we already have started getting hi from all our viewers. So, hi Renuka, hi Pragya, hi Amrita. Welcome to today's live, and we are so happy that you took out time to join us today. So, today's session, before we proceed, I just want to give you all like a heads up that today's session is going to be very direct. Right, we are not going to go into analogies. We are not going to go into deep explanations because we are going to cover four different instruments what Priya mentioned. So we are going to make it very direct. So stay tuned, make notes if required, and use the comment box that you have because we are here for an hour with you all and make the best out of it. So coming back to your question, Priya, when you asked me what is Atal Pension Yojana, so Atal Pension Yojana is basically a pension scheme which was brought into picture to support the unorganized sector with respect to retirement planning. Now, what happens here is that there are various pension schemes, there like the national pension scheme, and you have pension plans. You even have mutual funds and everything. But the two things that are a huge constraint for the unorganized sector was one, the understanding of the instrument, and second, the minimum investment amount. So to keep these two hurdles aside, the government decided that let's come out with a scheme that is easier for the unorganized sector and which provides a guaranteed pension, a guaranteed minimum pension. So that is how the APY came into picture. This scheme provides you a guaranteed minimum pension of rupees 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, and 5000. So these are the five different classes, and you have to start investing in it till the age of 60, and after that you will start receiving your pension.
So that's great information actually. So as we now know like what exactly APY means, so I'd like to know like what is the eligibility criteria for it? Like how can I invest into it?
So the one thing that I think I would suggest you is that we can invest in it too because we fall in the right age bracket. So a
Yeah.
person who wants to invest in APY first of all needs to be an Indian citizen. An NRI cannot invest in APY. Secondly, you need to fall under the age bracket of 18 years to 40 years. Any person like who's even 40 years one day will not be allowed to invest in this particular scheme. Second is you need to have mandatorily you need to have a savings account. Now it can be either in a bank or a post office, but you need to have it, and I'll tell you why. It will be answered in the upcoming questions. So that is one, and you need to know that you can only open one APY account against your name. So under your PRAN number, you will get only one APY open for yourself.
All right. So that's great. Everyone remember that only one account can be open and the age bracket is 18 to 40 years of age. All right. So the next question here for you is like how do I contribute to APY?
So the process is very easy. Like, I mean, if you are someone who understands normal banking, you're done. Like that's all you need to know. So the process is basically you go to a bank or you go to a post office. You get okay. So bank, and when I say bank, you can go to any bank. Okay, like any bank, and open your savings bank account, and then you can choose the intermediary, which is giving you the option to open an APY account with you, like an APY investment facility, which is giving. So you have to go to your bank or your post office. You have to register yourself and open an account. Basically, your investment account with APY. It's just a scheme that you enroll into, right? So you have to do that, and you begin your account. Your investment begins right there. And when we talk about contribution, you are free to make a contribution either monthly, half yearly, or quarterly. So these are the three frequencies in which you can make your contributions. When you talk about how much to contribute, right? So I just want to show you all a table. So this is a standard table that is given by the Atal Pension Yojana. So basically, the PFRDA, the regulator of this pension yojana, they have issued these table, and this one I'll explain it to you in a very concise manner, so you guys know what I'm exactly talking about. So here you can see minimum guaranteed pension of rupees 1000 per month, right? So these are the different classes you have. So it's 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, 5000. Here you can see the return of corpus amount to the nominee. Now what this means is basically that if a person they pass away before completing the age of 60, so the amount that goes on to their nominee, this is the total amount, because they are not eligible for the pension anymore, but they are eligible for this minimum, the guaranteed amount that they hold. Now you'll see here it's the age of entry over here. So basically, if you are for example, if you're 20 years old, right? So this will be your age of entry, and your vesting period will be 40. So like I mentioned earlier, your APY, you have to invest till the age of 60. So your 40 years become your vesting period, and for the next 40 years you have to make your investments. How these investments are made are, you can see these monthly, quarterly, and half yearly, right? So these three columns are basically for your rupees 1000 per month. Now, if you have to make a monthly installment, you have to pay rupees 50. You have to pay rupees 50 every month for the next 40 years to get a pension of rupees 1000 per month after the age of 60 years. So this chart is easily available on the internet. All you have to search is the APY contribution chart, and you can put 2021 to receive the latest one, and you will find that it's like properly given to you, right? It's like given that at what age what will be your vesting period, and if you're contributing either monthly, quarterly, or half yearly, then what is the amount that you will have to contribute. It also gives you the return of corpus for the nominee. So I think this chart is understood over here. If you have any questions, do let us know. And if you want us to share this chart with you directly on the community, do drop your comment saying that, hey, please share the chart, or we need the chart, or anything, and we will share it with you guys for sure. So yeah, that is how much you can contribute. And one thing that I would like to highlight here is that, for example, if today you start your investment monthly, and you say that I want to invest rupees 50 every month. Now if next year you feel like I have arranged for a better source of income and I can contribute more than 50 rupees, you're free to increase your amount. Or if you feel that maybe 50 is too much, I want to cut down, then you can decide to decrease your amount. And you can also change the frequency of your investment, like you can make it a half yearly or a quarterly. But one thing, you have to do it only once a year. The change can be done only once a year, so be very mindful of that. And one thing also want to highlight here is that the return that is mentioned over, so the return is 1000 per month, right? So that is your minimum guaranteed. And when I say minimum guaranteed, is because your investments are whatever you pool the money, and whatever money is pooled and given to these fund house, the PFRDA, right? They make their investments in their certain understanding, and the returns can actually be more than what we have what we are supposed to receive. So if you have a minimum of 1,000 per month, it could happen that you would end up receiving like a 1,500 per month. It depends on how much your corpus has gained the returns. And that is one benefit of APY, that if you fall short of returns, the government is going to make sure that you get your minimum amount. But if you get more returns, they're going to credit it back to your amount. So nobody's going to eat on your money. And that is one of the reasons why APY is a really good investment tool. So yeah, I hope that should answer your question.
That's a great explanation, actually. And the chart always had made it easier to understand the numbers. So we have a couple of follow-up questions with regarding to the contribution. So firstly, Pragya is asking, like, till 40 years we can invest, or before 40 years we can start investing. So can you clarify that?
Definitely. Hi, Pragya. So you can start your investment right after the age of 18. I showed you the chart, right? So over there you saw the age of entry is 18 and the vesting period is accordingly mentioned. So you can start right away from the age of 18, but beyond 40 you'll not see a chart, because after 40 you're not eligible for the same. So whenever you start investing, you start investing from that period till the age of 60. So I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much for explaining. And we have Amrita's question. She's asking, like, does this contribution amount change yearly? What, like, how does it exactly work?
So no, it doesn't change yearly, and I believe like I saw this chart for 21, and I'm not sure which year I saw. Maybe it was 2015 or some other chart. It kind of had the same amount, but then it's always suggested that you look for the latest chart, because you don't want to go and sit and see, right, that which amount has changed. So just make sure that you're looking for the latest chart.
It's great. And we have a couple of people live who have joined us right now. So I'm going to say hi to all of them. So, hi, Sai, Deepika, Binita, and Nagjoti. Hi. And we have Preeti also live with us. So, thank you, Preeti, for
Hi.
joining. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining, actually. And so we have another question, like what if someone who has invested into this APY scheme, what if the person dies? So what happens after that? So what
So
happens with this then?
right. So obviously that is one. I mean, like, and actually in today's time, I think it is one of the worries that we plan for the retirement, but it's so unpredictable, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
COVID has actually opened all of our eyes that life is so unpredictable. So coming to your question, Priya, so if a subscribe, so whenever you invest in the scheme, you become a subscriber. So wherever you find the word subscriber, this is what it means, that you the holder of that investment. So if a subscriber, God forbid, passes away before before attaining the age of 60, the minimum amount that was mentioned in the chart, as per your contribution, you will be getting that minimum amount. Now, one thing that differs is like if you pass away before the age of 60 or after the age of 60, so that is a different thing altogether. But if you pass away after the age of 60, you get that minimum amount. If you do before, then as per your contribution, like the proportionate amount is what you'll receive, and that amount will be received by your nominee. So yeah, that is how you go about it if you come across such situation. And you can always, I think the best part is that all these things they have regulators, right? The PFRD is a regulator of this yojana. Just call the helpline number and ask away a question. In fact, since you are making these investments through bank or post offices, feel free to ask their customer care services that help me out, because I think one, they are there for that reason, and second, if we don't ask, we won't know. So make use of the service that they provide us.
Absolutely. It's great to ask questions also because we get clarified that way.
Right.
And for those of you who want answers from us, you can contact us through the free community on Facebook, as well as we have a community on the app. So you can contact us through that also. And I have a next question for you, Chanchal, regarding APY. So
Yeah.
what are the withdrawal rules of APY?
So the withdrawal rules are pretty simple. Like, they're pretty sorted in a way. There are no complications as such. The thing is that before the age of 60, they do not allow you to withdraw your money. Like, only there are certain cases that are mentioned in the clause, like terminal diseases, or like the few things that are mentioned. Only those are the times when you can actually make a request to withdraw your money. Otherwise, you cannot withdraw it before that. One thing that comes here is that if there's a change in your residential status, for example, when you started your investment you were an Indian citizen, and then suddenly you change into an NRI. So now in that case, what happens is that they follow the same rule, that the corpus and the return that so whatever amount you have invested, that amount plus the returns that you are liable to receive, that are accrued by you, that amount is what you'll receive in hand, and then your account is shut. So there will be no more entertainment after a change of residential status. However, if you have completed the age of 60, you have to put an application to your bank or post office wherever you have opened this APY account, and they will then start issuing your pension. So it is not an automated process that it's just it's just happening. So just the process which is automated is the payment, like your monthly or half yearly or quarterly amount that you pay, that is normally auto debited from your account. So there's no hindrance when it comes to your payment. But to receive your pension, you have to submit an application.
All right. So that's great. For investing, it's very easy. You can have an ECS facility and get your money auto debited. So you don't have to worry every month that you have to spend certain amount towards your APY scheme.
Right.
So consider like now we have known like what is APY, what is like how do we contribute towards it. So the one important aspect towards every investment that investors look for is the tax implications. So in
Right.
case of APY, what are tax implications that I need to consider before investing?
So in APY, I think like any other pension scheme, the one thing about APY is that the returns are tax free, right? The whole purpose of a long term investment is that your returns become tax free to you. But what is right? The good thing about APY is that the deductions that you can claim while filing your ITR. So now, when you file an ITR in a particular financial year, under the section 80 CCD, you can claim up to 10% of the gross total income that you're contributing, and this is all under the Income Tax Act 1961. And this is one thing that you must actually use if you're contributing towards APY, because like we say, right, that we are given so many options, but it's often that because of lack of awareness we fail to execute it. So that is one thing. And second, under the same scheme, okay, like same scheme, under section 80 CCD 1, like bracket 1, under that you can claim an additional 50,000 deduction for the same APY, because since this is treated as a pension scheme altogether, the it is treated the same way, like how your NPS would be treated, it is treated exactly the similar way.
That's great. Thank you so much for explaining. And we have one more question from Rebecca. She's asking, like, how safe is this scheme? Will APY change if some other government scheme comes to, if some other government comes to the power? So, what's your
Rebecca,
answer?
I think safety is something that we all like look forward to in investments, right? And that too for something which is so long, right? The vesting. I mean, just thinking about the fact that 20 years is a vesting period, you will be like, too much time to give. But I completely understand your concern, and the thing is that it is a completely safe instrument, since it's a government backed instrument. It doesn't matter which government is in power, the rules don't change. Secondly, it is a interest linked instrument, so like it's not even about the interest part, it's a minimum guaranteed pension scheme. Like the definition itself says it's a minimum guaranteed pension scheme, so you will be getting all your money. And the best part is that it is a regulated yojana. It is regulated by the PFRDA, the pension fund regulator Department and Authority of India. So it's completely safe. You don't have to worry, like if in that long run if the government changes or anything. It's like any other government scheme basically, like how you have government bond guilt funds and everything. It's exactly the same, doesn't matter which government is in power, the money is protected. And if it says that there's a minimum contribution or minimum return that is guaranteed to you, then that is something you are for sure going to get.
That's great. Thank you so much. So, Rebecca, I hope your question is answered. So, even if everything like, these government related schemes are for those people who look for safety first before investing their money. So, if you are someone who is looking for something like this, a stable returns and along with the safety, so that is one scheme for you. And we have another question from Pragya. She's asking, like, but rupees 100 or 500 would be matching inflation. Like, will it suffice the half need also of the retirement, like getting 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 per month? I just want to have a clear picture of it as I was totally unaware of investments before joining this group. So Pragya,
So
I think firstly, Chanchal, I would like to just say one thing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Pragya, I think it's like most of the people are unaware about investments and specifically women. So that is why Lakshmi is here to help you, to empower you to take charge of your finances. And it's great that you have, you are with us with being Lakshmi. We are going to help you take, informed money decisions when it comes to you. So I hope I'll just pass on the mic to Chanchal to answer her question. Just wanted to say this.
I heard you started with Pragya. Like, I'm excited that you are, you've started your whole learning process. I was like, same. That is exactly what I was about to say. So, yeah. So, congrats, Pragya, for like starting to learn and explore the different instruments. Your concern is absolutely right that ₹1,000 per month income or 5,000 rupee per month income is not enough to suffice your needs. It's not enough to beat inflation. But that is exactly with what we started this session, right? That APY scheme is not for the privileged ones. Like, you can use it because it's open for all, but the whole aim of the scheme was to help the unorganized sector to emerge and make a proper financial retirement plan for themselves. And that is the reason, like, I mean, for us, maybe a 5,000 rupees per month is a very negligible amount to consider, but for someone whose maybe month's earning is just rupees 500, for them a 5,000 a month is like a big deal. So that is one of the reasons, like, it is a government scheme to help the underprivileged, to help the unorganized, and that is the reason the risk is very low. And see, we know the rule of thumb, right? That higher the risk, higher the return; lower the risk, lower the return. Here, when you are said that there's a minimum guarantee, and I think we are not even touching base on the point that there are certain cases where the government is also contributing. So if you are not a part of any of the uh, like the pension schemes that are out there available, and you fall under a certain criteria, then in that case the government is actually paying for your premiums. They are actually contributing on your end. So just imagine, like, a person who's not even able to afford the kind of contribution that we showed, right? Like, I think for a 5,000 rupee, a monthly contribution is somewhere around 300 rupees. So someone who's not able to afford that, for them a 5,000 a month is like a big deal. So absolutely, if you feel that your needs is something that is not going to get it's not going to get taken care of by this scheme, don't worry. Priya and I are here for another good enough time to talk about the other schemes that are actually way more efficient, way more better to serve your goals for retirement. This is just like one scheme, and we decided to start with this so that we can keep this aside and then start moving to the major schemes and the most common schemes that we have.
Absolutely. We have a request from Rebecca. She's asking, like, it will be good if you guys can also show the comparison between the government and the private retirement tools. So, Rebecca, to answer your question, this session is entirely about the government backed retirement tools, and we have a part two of this session coming up next week. So, we are going to cover all other instruments that you can use to plan your retirement. So, I think that will answer all your questions there. So, do join us with on that session as well. And we have uh, answer question from Sai Deepika. She's asking, please make a session about all retirement tools. So I think Sai Deepika, I have answered your question as well. We have a question from Nisha Xavier. She's asking, hi, first of all, hi Nisha. And she's asking, may I ask if she has a lump sum where she wants to know where she can invest and returns are guaranteed. So let's say she has 20 lakhs and how can I create a versatile portfolio? So, Nisha, to answer your question, you need to identify a few things before investing. So, firstly, identify what goal you have. How much time do you need? Like, after how long do you need that amount of money? What is your risk appetite? If you want guaranteed returns, then for how long? Because the instruments differ that way. And then you need to consider like whether you are looking for something which has a lock-in period, which doesn't have a lock-in period, and the tax benefits if you want like if you are looking for an investment instruments which has a tax benefit or not. So you have to chart down everything, and then you will be able to figure out the right instrument for you. And for particular like more questions if you have specifically, you can always reach out to us on the Being Lakshmi community on Facebook, as well as you can download the app. We have a community there as well, where you can get all the answers on a real time basis. So I hope it answers your question. And Pragya saying that thank you so much for making me feel comfortable about being new to investments. Yes, Pragya, we are all there for you, and we want you to be, confident and financially independent, and every woman out there. So that's our aim at Lakshmi. And we have another comment. Okay, so let's start with the other schemes that we have lined up. So Chanchal, I'm going to pass on the mic to you.
Great. Thank you, Priya, um, for addressing all the people out here. I think we have received so many questions already. I feel so happy about the fact that it's just one scheme, and we have so much more to go. So yeah, coming to the most awaited scheme of all time, like most awaited scheme that I think everybody would be here to actually know about is the National Pension Scheme. How can we go wrong about it, right? Like when we say retirement, it's just pension, pension, pension. For the longest, I think retirement was pension for us. We used to use it interchangeably. So Priya, the first question, direct hit. What is a national pension scheme?
So to answer it in a easier way, it's a government backed scheme. It gives you a pension, and you have, it is available to all the citizens of India, so anyone can invest into it. I'll come on to the details of the eligibility as per the say for NPS. And the other thing which you can see here is that it is also a scheme regulated by PFRDA, that is the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So it's a government backed like a regulated scheme for all our investors out here. And one thing which I'd like to add here is that you can, you have a variety of asset classes available when it comes to NPS. So Chanchal is going to ask all the questions to me on behalf of all of you. So keep shooting your questions, and I'm going to answer it.
Great. I think people would have been waiting, like start NPS because NPS is what is the whole point of doing the retirement, right? The whole retirement planning. But I think we are following up to what you just said. You yourself said that I will be covering the eligibility. So why don't you tell us about the eligibility as well?
All right. So eligibility is very simple when it comes to NPS. So anyone between the age group of 18 to 70 can invest into NPS. And for all those NRI viewers, you have questions like, how can I invest into Indian schemes? We often get these questions. So you are also eligible to invest in NPS. So the only criteria is the age bracket that is here. So I hope it answers.
Great. And Priya, I think when we were having this conversation, you mentioned that in NPS, you want to actually break it down for our audiences here today, and you want to tell them about the different tiers that are there, so that accordingly you can explain the minimum, maximum amount, and the tenures and everything, right? So why don't you just deep dive into it right away?
Absolutely, yes. So, for all the viewers, NPS offers two types of accounts. So, first is the NPS Tier 1 account, and the other is NPS Tier 2 account. All right. So, I told you the eligibility for NPS Tier 1 account, which was any Indian citizen between the age group of 18 to 70 years can invest into the scheme. But in case of tier 2 account, what the mandatory requirement is that you need to have a tier 1 account. So whenever you invest into an NPS, you are investing into a tier 1 account. All right. So this is a brief idea of what the eligibility criteria is in terms of the two types of accounts. Okay, so let's consider like what is the basic objective of these two accounts. So tier 1 account is like a pure retirement planning tool. it comes with a lock-in of around 60 years. So after the age of 60 years, you have the withdrawal options, which I'll come to later. And in case of tier 2 account can be considered as a investment come savings account. All right. So now let's come to the lock-in part. So in case of the tier 1 account, as we have seen that, it's a huge lock-in, like a long duration you have to wait to get your money back and for your retirement investments. So it's, let's see that you have to contribute some initial contribution. When we talk about, you need to contribute a minimum of 500 in case of a tier 1 account, and a minimum of 1000 in case of tier 2. All right. But when we talk about the minimum contributions on a yearly basis, in case of NPS Tier 1 account, it's only rupees 1000 per annum. That is the minimum you can invest, and there is no maximum limit to it. And in case of Tier 2 account, there is no limit. Like, there is no specific requirement that you have to maintain this specific balance or not. So there's no minimum balance required in case of um, I would say the NPS account. So I hope that clarifies a lot of things about, what is exactly the difference between the tier 1 and tier 2.
Right, absolutely. Priya, why do I feel that you got carried away with the comments that we are getting side by side?
I was thinking, like, do I have a question? I was not explaining it well or what. So, for those of you, if you have not understood anything, you can just put it in the comments. I can explain it to you again. That's not a problem. I
No,
just
I
got,
think Priya, I think you have explained it beautifully, and people would definitely have questions following up what you have said instead of like asking you to explain things again. I think you're doing exactly the right job here. We do have a couple of questions, but I think it's better we take it after we complete the set of questions we have. So in case they have a question which is matching it, they can get answered simultaneously. So
okay.
now that we have understood like the basic crux of NPS, um, like you mentioned during APY, right? Taxes. One thing we all have to think about. So what are the tax implications when it comes to NPS?
All right. So NPS is one of the instruments which offers great tax benefits. So that is why people are more, carried away with the fact that, they need to consider NPS for their investments. But let me tell you, like, what all things you have. And if you fall under those categories, if you want those benefits, then you can select NPS. All right. So first thing is, under Section 80C of the Income Tax Act, you can claim a reduction of 1,50,000 on a yearly basis. But this 1,50,000 deduction is like a cumulative deduction of all the investment instruments. So if you already have that, if you already are claiming something related to ATC, then you may not get it. But NPS is something which will help you in getting ATC deduction up to 1,50,000. And government wants to promote this scheme of, like, I would say, as like, they want people to plan for their retirement, because this is something which people usually ignore, and they suffer problems in the during their post retirement period. So to promote this, the government offers additional tax benefit of around 50,000 under section 80 ccd. So under this section, so overall what you have is a 2 lakh of tax benefits that you can avail on a yearly basis by investing into NPS. So these are the tax implications when we talk about NPS.
I think the government has done an amazing job here actually encouraging people to make their investments, because I mean we who who deal with these things regularly, we understand the importance of retirement planning. But for someone, I think even if it starts out of a different intention, why not? I mean, it's a win-win after all, right? It's just a win-win for all of us. So yeah, covering that, maybe the next question, which I think everyone would want to know about, and I think we even have a question from Saidipika, kind of on the same lines. Who should invest in NPS? Like, who should invest in it?
All right. So NPS is something for, it's an instrument which would, I would say, it's a low cost instrument. So anyone who, I would just explain you, I would give you a checklist kind of a thing. So if you fall under those categories, you can consider NPS. I would not say that you should go for it, but you can consider and, learn more about it and see whether it's right for you or not. So in NPS, I would say, is a low cost instrument. It offers tax benefits that I mentioned, that you can get a tax benefit of up to 2 lakh rupees on a yearly basis by investing in NPS. NPS is not an instrument which offers fixed rate of return. So that is something we usually when we are investing into an instrument, we consider like what returns will I get. Is there a fixed rate of return? So NPS is an instrument which offers market linked returns, because there are four asset classes where you can invest into it. So namely, I would as we are on this topic, I would explain like what all asset classes are there in case of NPS. So we have four asset classes, namely, so firstly we have is the asset class E, which is the equity asset class. So you can invest into equity, and the maximum percentage that you can invest in is a 50%. Is that is a capping that is I would say kept by the PFRDA. The next thing is the asset class C, which is the corporate debt. So you can invest into that. The third is the asset class, I would say G, that is the government securities. And the fourth one is the asset class A, which is the alternative investments. The alternative investments is something which is very new, and it has been introduced a few years back only, with an objective that people should get diversification in a particular instrument when they are investing for a long term period. But there is a capping to investing into alternative funds, which is around 5%. So these are the asset classes, and whenever an individual is investing into this, they can have these two options. So one is the auto choice and the other is the active choice. So in case of auto choice, your allocation, asset allocation is decided by the PFRDA based on your life cycle and your age. So you have three portfolios there: aggressive, moderate, and conservative. All right. And in terms of active asset allocation, I would say an investor here gets a chance to, manage, like decide their asset allocation themselves. So this is one instrument where you can put your maths into use. Like if you are someone who knows how to allocate your assets, here is one instrument which offers four asset classes as a diversification. You can choose the percentage as per your choice, and you can invest into it. So this is something about like who should invest into NPS. And one more thing is like I would say that it offers a very flexible, it's like a flexible instrument. So someone who doesn't want to restrict themselves towards investing a particular amount every year or a month, so they can go for this instrument, as there's a minimum requirement of only 1000, and they can invest as per their choice during the year. So hope
Right.
it answers.
Priya, as you were talking about the different asset classes,
uh,
the one thing I wanted to say out loud was, people, I feel you. I know it's a lot of information to kind of grasp, like all of a sudden. And I think when we talk about the basics, it's kind of easy to relate. But as we deep dive into the technicalities, it gets a little complicated. To solve this for you, I would suggest download the Lakshmi app. We have a very beautiful blog written on National Pension Scheme. It's actually divided, and everything, whatever Priya is saying, right, it's right there. Download the app and go read the NPS blog, and then let us know that if what we are saying out loud makes a lot of sense to you or not. And with that, I would take the last question up for NPS, and that is, what are the withdrawal rules for NPS?
Okay. So in case of NPS, so as I mentioned, I explained you about the two types of accounts, the tier one and tier two account. So tier two account, which is like a voluntary savings cum investment account. So there is no withdrawal or the restrictions on withdrawal on that account. So you can withdraw your money anytime you want. But in case of tier one account, there are certain restrictions in case of withdrawal. So firstly, you are allowed to withdraw the money only after the age of 60 years, and that too there are two portions of it. So what you can consider is, like, suppose you have 100% of corpus, whatever amount is, considered it as 100% amount. All right. So you divide that amount into 60 and 40. 60% can be the amount you will get as a lump sum, and 40% you have to get compulsorily as an like an annuity. So you need to say that for 60% you will get that lump sum at the age of 60, and 40% will be I would say converted into an annuity, which you will get that amount on a monthly basis.
All
So
right.
this is something which is like a withdrawal plan for NPS. And if you want to withdraw like beforehand also, so there are certain conditions on the basis of which you can withdraw the money. like do a partial withdrawal, that in case of emergencies or if there's a medical condition, then you can have a partial withdrawal also. So
So if I have to summarize what you just said is basically you save up to your retirement. On your retirement, you get a good hefty amount back in your hand. But the plan is also going to make sure that you don't spend all of it at once, and that's why they're going to make sure that you keep that 40% in some annuity, which is going to ensure that the remaining life that you have, the remaining lifespan that you have to, you have to use that money for. You're getting that money too. You're not just yeah, that is not happening just once.
true.
So
The
yeah,
government makes sure that we don't splurge all our retirement fund on our goals, so they want ki, we need to have regular income also.
absolutely, absolutely. With that said, I think we should take up the questions on NPS that we have received now. So
Sure.
we have the first question from Saidipika, and she's asking, is it fair to use NPS scheme when you have already invested in mutual funds? I find myself not so inclined towards it.
Okay. So, Saidipika, to answer your question, so there are two things. So, every instrument serves a different objective. It's not like, that mutual funds are serving you, so you can invest entirely into mutual funds. We always say that diversify your investments so as to manage the risk. So, one thing is this you need to remember. And the other thing, I would just read up your question once again. All right. So, okay, so you don't find yourself inclined to it. So, that's absolutely all right. It's not mandatory to invest into an NPS if you already have your portfolio planned up. So, this is just one scheme and it offers you various benefits, but it also has a lock in of 60 years. So, you need to see for yourself which one suits your requirements the best and then consider it. So, hope it answers, Sai Deepika.
Yes, I hope that answers the question. We have another question from Amrita, and she's saying, I feel here comes aggressive investors. I'm with you, girl. Everyone who's watching, do Amrita's comment. Let us know if you're an active choice holder or an auto choice holder. And then let's see who's an aggressive investor and who all other moderately conservative investors here. Awesome. So next, oh wow, we have so many comments. I think I got lost in between. Okay, okay. Okay, so Smita has it in 50K in tier 1 or 2. 50K in tier 1 or 2. I'm not sure if that's a question.
Smita, if you can elaborate your question, maybe then I'll be able to answer. Is my voice echoing?
No, no, it's fine.
All right. Okay, okay. So, Smita, can you elaborate your question so that I can answer it properly for you?
Okay, let's give her time to write it down. Till then, we'll take another question. A question from Madhurima. She's asking, rules for NPS are changing. Is it true?
So, Madhurima, to answer your question, I would say that government is trying to make NPS more reachable and accessible to all our Indian citizens, so that they can plan their investments for their retirement. So earlier, the age for NPS investments was 18 to 60 years. So the age bracket has been increased by the government. So now people from the age group of 18 to 70 years can invest into this scheme. So this is something, a recent development which I came to know about NPS during the past few days. So, and we can keep you updated also if there are further rules that are changing. We are always there on the community to update our viewers and the members so that they are, they know everything what they are doing.
Awesome. We have a question from Amrita, and I think it's a very interesting question, Priya. She's asking, can we say that NPS is government's mutual fund? I mean, I love her thought process on this. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
and it's great actually. It NPS is like an instrument which offers you so many benefits. Like you have different asset classes, and if you are someone who know how these asset classes work, you can choose the allocation yourself, which you cannot do in a mutual fund. You can choose a mutual fund which offers a particular, like, your I would say a portfolio as per your choice. But here you get, in terms of, like we say ki cooking may, when you see that, some of the people follow a particular recipe, like they know ki ha, you need to put these many things and in a certain way. But in case of certain other people, they want to do everything on their own to have their own, um, own like a personal touch to it. So in terms of investments also, if you are someone who want to you know, I would say, plan your investments and want to put your inputs also while planning. So NPS is, I would say, yeah, it's a great thought actually. Then it's a word that I would always remember. That it's a government's mutual fund. So it's great.
Awesome. I think Smita has replied with a question. She's asking that asset classes in tier 1 or tier 2 is 60/40 strict, or we can change to 100 annuity.
Okay. So, you know, you get the option of minimum 40% annuity. If you want, you can convert it to 100% annuity also. And if you are someone who don't want that, you have other investments, redeeming at that particular point of time, so you can get converted into 100% annuity as well for your NPS investments. And answering your question related to asset classes in tier 1 and tier 2, so there's only one difference, that in tier 2 account you don't get an diversification of investing into asset classes A, which is the alternative investments, because it's a risky asset class. It's like a very high risk asset class, I would say, and it is suitable for a long term period. And government doesn't want you to risk your money in the short term, because there's no withdrawal restrictions in case of tier 2 account. So that is the only asset class which is not available in tier 2. Rest others all are there.
Great. Smita, I hope that answers your question. And we're sorry we had to ask you to like type it down for us, but it's just a little confusing when we have so many questions out there, right? Then we have a question from Pragya, and she's asking, only working class can invest in NPS or housewives can also?
Anyone can invest into NPS, so that's not the only the age criteria you have to see and chart out. So anyone can invest.
Great. We have a question from Amrita. She's asking, what happens to that 40% amount if the person dies? Does the nominee get it?
So the nominee may get two options. So firstly, they may continue to get the nominee may continue to get the annuity. So it's up to their choice, like what they want, and they have the option to get the balance amount also as a lump sum amount. So supposedly, if a person dies and they want that remaining amount, so the nominee can avail the nominee or the legal heirs. They can avail the remaining amount as a lump sum. So government will pay that money, and you have to submit the necessary documents like the death certificate and the bank account details and etc. So you can avail that amount.
Great. And the last question from Smita, she's asking, for tax saving, should we invest 50K in tier 1 or tier 2?
So, Smita, to answer your question, there is no 50K requirement. The only thing is you need to. Acha, for tax saving that you are
Tax
asking.
saving,
Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, all right. So, for tax saving, the tax saving benefits is only available for tier 1 account and not for tier 2. So, whenever you are investing, I forgot to tell you about it. So, I'm so sorry for that. But the tax saving benefits are only available for tier 1 and not for tier 2. So, tier 2 comes with whatever the money that you earn through tier 2, it's taxable as per your stamp.
Great. We have one more question, and it's from Priya. So the question is,
Hi.
can the can the nominee continue with the same account?
So I think for this question, I'm not really sure about how the nominee can work, but I'll definitely get back to you because I don't want to give you a wrong information out here. So Priya, I think you can connect with us on the community, and I'll definitely get back to you with an answer on this.
Well, I have a little something to add here. So, like what I know about is that you cannot continue with and with a pension account of someone, because you have to have a plan for a particular account, right? So,
Yeah.
if a subscriber to a pension scheme passes away, then the nominee is liable to get the corpus, the return plus the whatever amount that they're supposed to get. Otherwise, they cannot continue. In fact. There is no way for a nominee to continue, because it might happen that the subscriber might have nominated a minor. Now, a minor is not eligible to get into your NPS, right? So, your when you hold a nomination, to get it converted into account holdership, you have to still meet the criteria. So that is one of the reasons why you cannot continue that same. So Priya, I hope you like what Priya had to say and what I had to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question from Smita. How do we go about opening NPS account?
Okay, so Smita, opening an NPS account is very easy. You can open it online since we see that digitization is the only thing that we have promoted. The only thing good thing that we have promoted during this lockdown, that everything became online and easily accessible for us. So you can invest into NPS by visiting the government's official website of NPS Trust. You can enroll through that. You have the option of opening an NPS account through your bank also. So you can do that by physically visiting the branch or through your net banking portal or the mobile banking app. So you have that facility. You have to just submit the basic required documents and you can just go about investing into it.
Amazing. So I think with that we have covered all the NPS questions. And Priya, I'm a little concerned because you look at the time; it's
And
almost 9:50, and we have
and
still
two
two
more.
more asset classes to cover. I would
Yeah.
actually want to ask this to the viewers that do you want us to do the two asset classes today, or do you want to you want us to do it the next time, because we don't want to do a session where it becomes difficult for you all to attend since we have a dedicated slot, and I think it's like 10 at night, right? So we don't want to stretch it way too far also. So do let us know, and if we get a lot of comments right now, then we'll be happy to like take up one more asset class and then stop. Or if we get before that, then maybe we can stop there too. But until then, until we get something from you guys, we will not stop. So then the choice will be yours to sit and continue watching the series with us. Um, so okay, so we have one from Lalita. She's saying next time. Appreciated Lalita. Before that, oh, we have another one from Smita as well. She's saying we can join next time. Awesome. Before that, we have a question from Smita again. So I think we can take that up till other people put in their feedbacks. So Smita is saying, does class C and G have any minimum capping on investment?
So no, the class C and G does not have a minimum capping on investment. So if you are someone who wants to, have a more secured or a conservative or a risk averse portfolio, then there is no capping for it. The only thing is that the government doesn't want you to invest entirely in a very high risky instrument. So that is why there's a cap on the equity asset class. I would say that is 50%, and the on the alternative asset class, which is the 5% capping. So that is only there.
Great, great. So we have another few comments. Rebecca is saying yes. Next time, open Q&A session now. The Q&A session is open, ladies.
Okay,
Like
yes.
just keep typing. We are here just for you guys. And we have something from Pragya also. She's saying next class we can discuss about it to have more detailed info. And then she's corrected, next session. I mean, we totally get it. It feels like a class. I think we all have been studying at home. We are seeing kids at our home study on these laptops, and we feel that we are in a in-house classroom, like so that's completely fine, Pragya. So Priya, do you think we should then skip our EPF and PPF and do it the next session so that we can have a more detailed session, right? I mean, what's
Yeah.
the point of rushing through it when our users are not able to catch hold
Grab.
of what we want to give it to them, right? So
Yeah.
I think with interest, or with due respect of all of you who have said this, Amrita is saying, can we get recording of these wonderful sessions? Amrita, first of all, you are
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you for giving us that beautiful feedback. And you don't need a recording for this. All these lives are on our Lakshmi page. You just have to open your Facebook, type LXME, click the search button on the page, scroll, 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 or you can find a video option there. Yeah, you can just click on that and you'll find all our sessions lined up. So whichever you like, you can revisit it. If you have any questions, you in within that same live, you can comment like tag Chanchal Saxena or Priya Agrawal and type your question down there. We'll happily come there to answer it for you. Um, so we have yes, please. I have loads of questions for PPF. Smita, the next session is for you. The next
Yes.
session is for you. Don't forget to join in our next session. Okay, so I think the platform is now open for Q&As and feedbacks. Please start sending it in. We'll stay for a couple of more minutes to see how many more questions and feedbacks we receive. And once we stop receiving it, we'll wrap up the session for the day.
Okay, so I'd like to say something here. If you found this session, useful and informative, and if you are someone who has a lot of, friends and like the people who want to learn about these instruments, you can always share this video with them. And if you like our video, it's like a small request. Like if you like our video, do hit the like button and share your feedback also in the comment section below, so we can come up with more and more. And if there's any more topic, I would say, that you want us to have a separate session on, we'll definitely cover it for you. So do put in your request for it. And yes, you can ask all your questions related to NPS or APY. We are here to answer it for you.
Awesome. Oh wow, Smita is actually inspired to open an NPS account after we have done this.
So
Priya,
that's
can
great.
we have like a high five through
Okay.
the screen? Amazing, amazing. It's amazing to see you ladies in power. I mean, that is why we are all here, right? We all sit together, we grow together, we learn together, and we ensure that we are investing so that we grow our money together. It's not
Yeah.
just personal development, it's also the monetary growth that we want to aim.
Mhm.
Wow, so we have received very beautiful feedback from people, and thank you everyone for sending those in. It really means a lot to us that you actually spend your 1 hour with us to listen to what we have to share, what we have to, what we want you to know, and we will ensure that all our sessions are strictly with interest to your time. They're strictly with interest to your interest, and that is the reason even today we were supposed to cover four, but we are only doing two, and we are postponing the other so that you guys have all the time to ask as many questions as you want. We don't want to rush. This Lakshmi community is for you. This brand is for you. So just come on in and start asking away all your questions. If you want to interact with Priya or myself, you can download the Lakshmi app. You can find it on Google Play Store. You can find it on the Apple App Store, and from there you can download it. You can send your questions on the community, and we'll be there as your money coaches. You will find a handle, money coach being Lakshmi, so we'll be answering all your queries over there. On Facebook also, through the Lakshmi page, you can enter the Being Lakshmi community. It's a all women community, completely non-judgmental. All you can do is just come there and read what other people have to say, and then just start asking your questions. Nobody's gonna judge you on what you're gonna ask. You can ask something like, what is the asset class G under NPS, or you can ask, what is a savings bank account.
Yeah.
There's no line. You just ask, because everyone there has started their first steps with us. So why not, why not start it today itself? So with that, Priya, I think we have wrapped up the session successfully. We have no longer queries coming up. If they do, you know where to find us. I think we we have emphasized on that enough. So yeah, I mean, it was a great session. It was lovely talking to you all, and love the enthusiasm. I mean, I can just scroll and the
Yeah.
questions are not ending. It's just going on, going on.
That's
So
great.
thank you everybody for joining in, and stay safe, stay at home, take care of yourself and your families. Priya, over to you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for giving us your precious time. It's very, I would say, it's very unlikely that people at 9 o'clock may sit to learn about financial planning. But this is something we really appreciate, and we hope to come up with, more and more sessions so that we can have an interactive and a fun way of learning with very easy to understand, in a very easy to understand way, and with the help of examples, we are going to make finance very easy and fun for you. So, and we want all of you women out here to take charge of your finances and be independent, like financially independent. Financial freedom is the most, it's the thing that we want to achieve, and it makes us happy as well. We can take our own decisions. So that's what we aim at Lakshmi. So thank you so much for joining in. We hope to see you next time. Do join us on the next Saturday. We'll be here at 9 o'clock and answering all your questions. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Good night.